Hi everyone, my name is Twinkle and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you an insight about what actually is happening in Qatar Airways. What is the plight of cabin crew, what is the current status, and a lot of updates of Qatar Airways in 2021. I'm going to be covering not just updates about cabin crew but also a little bit of information about flight deck. We're going to cover up the salary structure, we're going to talk about the new rules that have been introduced, new changes in this pandemic, and how is it affecting the current cabin crew. If this information interests you, then I would highly recommend you to hold on and watch the whole video until the end. But before that, if you like the kind of videos I make and if you like the content on my channel, then do not forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification button so that you don't miss any other video on this channel. On that note, let's get into the video. So when we talk about updates for Qatar Airways, the first and most important thing is cabin crew. Let's talk about cabin crew first. There are a few categories that I'm going to divide the cabin crew into so that I can explain you what all is going ahead and what all categories of crew have been affected with this kind of pandemic. So the cabin crew first category is being terminated. There are cabin crew that is being made redundant, cabin crew resigning, cabin crew on ULV, which is unpaid leave, and crew on SDIL. Now, what is ULV and what is SDIL? I will be covering up later in the video. Let's talk first about what is redundancy, or what do you mean by crew made redundant or laid off. So when there is a company that is going into losses or goes bankrupt or does not have enough money basically to continue that position or need that much of people, they ask the crew to leave, and then they basically lay off the crew or make you redundant. On the other hand, termination means that the company is not going ahead with any losses or something else, but they need to replace you because they have somebody else to replace your position, and that position is still very much active in the company, and that position needs to be filled up by a candidate but not you. So in simple terms, in redundancy, your position, that number of people, if there are 100 or 1000 people, that number of crew is not needed in the company, so they will just make 1000 crew redundant. But in case of termination, there is no such thing. They will replace you or 10 people or whatever who they don't find they are appropriate for the company, and they might or might not even give the reason, and they might just ask you to leave. But that position is still active and they need people to be there in that position, and more or less the particular position will be replaced by someone else but not you. So I hope the difference between redundancy and termination is clear to you. So there have been cabin crew who resigned first because they already wanted to resign, or they had this thing back in their mind. So looking at the whole scenario, there was an option, and people who wanted to resign, a lot of them resigned with the conditions and the current scenario that they saw, and they were okay with it. So their resignations were done as per procedures. So the first target after this to make people redundant were the training crew, the cabin crew who were the newest, and most of them who did not even start. So the first people, the first lot of crew, exactly not cabin crew because they did not even start flying, were these crew who were either in training or they were about to start their training, landed in Doha, second month, just about waiting to start their flying. These were the first lot of cabin crew to be made redundant. They were given 30 days of severance pay. So what is severance pay? This is the amount of money that the company gives you in as a compensation basically to just about, because they let you go without prior notice and because your exit from the company was not planned, to tell you in simple terms. So yeah, they were paid that severance pay, they were helped with their tickets of course, and they were asked to pack their bags and go back. So the first people were these. Second were the people who were on hold. So if you'd seen this video of mine, I had talked about people getting emails about either withdrawing their candidature, or if they want they can also stay, but there were no promises made from the company that they would be given preference or they would be asked to come first. it was totally left on you whether you want to continue with the company or not, or you just want to sit in that hold lot or not. But there were no assurance whatsoever given to anyone, not even to the crew who were made redundant, that they will be given any preference. And that was said by the CEO of the company himself. Yes, there were statements wherein the CEO himself said that we will give preference to the crew, but that was for the senior crew who were made redundant, and only in case they want to join. Yes, if there is a requirement, they will be given preference provided they apply. So coming on to the left out category of crew, which is the ULV and SDIL. So ULV, the name suggests, is unpaid leave. So there were crew who before the lockdown set in were either on unpaid leaves or had gone home for days off, so and they could not return to the base because of company restrictions. They were also called as SDIL crew, which exactly means that if you were not in the base because of valid reasons of either being on your annual leave, unpaid leave, or on days off, but got stuck due to restrictions of a country, basically Doha or your country, or somehow they got in touch with the office, of course, and they got stuck for over a year as well. So yes, these were the crew who were named as SDIL, and because of the condition that they were stuck, because of that they were paid. How much they were paid? That is between Qatari riyals 1500 to Qatari riyals 2000. Yes, they were paid, and also they were given well-being checks by either their managers. They were made calls or by emails, but they were kept a check on. The second category of people where crew went on unpaid leave voluntarily, because either the company gave them an option before lockdown or they just went themselves. These people were not paid because they voluntarily left the base and they thought that it will be better to be back in their country without caring about what is going to happen in the base later. So these are the people who are not paid and were the second target that were made redundant or just not needed in the company anymore. So what about the people who are still in Doha? That means who are not on any unpaid leave or not SDIL or not got stuck, but they are in Doha because they were working normally like any other crew. These are the people who are in Doha and the most safest, because these people were within the company and stuck within Doha and were the last options to either get terminated or redundant. But these people are the ones who are facing a lot because they are not allowed, because they cannot leave Doha because the restrictions are so many either by their own country or in Doha, and they are stuck as hell. And of course, another thing, because they don't know what's gonna happen later if they leave Doha, they somehow choose to also stay in Doha, and that's what they all are going through. These are the crew who's actually working in the worst of conditions, working in PPEs, keeping their lives at stake, and actually having to go through all this and helping people, flying with passengers, taking them to places in this pandemic. They're operating cargo flights, they're operating passenger belly cargo flights. What is passenger belly cargo flights? I'm going to tell you later when I talk about what's happening with the flight deck crew, which are the captains and first officers in the company. Coming to what's happening, there have been curfews which has been revised from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m., which was previously that the crew is not supposed to be out of their accommodation in this time period, but now they're asked to be in their accommodations from late night 9 p.m. till 7 a.m. And the crew, because of the operational requirement is not as such, they are supposed to stay on standbys. If you want to know about all these terms, I have discussed in my myths and facts video and also in my roster video. If you want to go ahead and check out and know more about these terms. So they're on minimum rest, which means 12 hours before the flight or even before a standby that they might be pulled out for a flight or not. They have to maintain their minimum rests. They have to be on standby. So for example, if you have a standby which is like 12 hours from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., you also have to be available and be in your accommodation 12 hours prior to the start time of your standby. So basically 24 hours you're in your place, but of course you can use 90 minutes to go out, but that is not enough. So somehow these people have to stay as much as 12 to 14 standbys in a roster at home, and they might get pulled out for one flight in a month out of these standbys. Not just that, but they are also operating with minimum crew in flight, which is, to talk in simple terms, very less crew as compared to a full crew complement. So example, if you are flying in a 320, which is the smaller aircraft, and you get 6 crew, which is the full crew complement, or 7 crew at times with an additional crew on seat, you will only get 4 crew with full flights, which is way too less for a full flight. So that's a lot of work. So first of all, you're not getting flights, and second, if you get, you really need to work your asses off because you have minimum crew in flight to work with. Not just that, they're working in PPEs with their masks on. With in that kind of heat really makes it very, very uncomfortable to for a crew to operate. Of course, with all the different kind of service changes that have been made, that they will be serving in plastic containers, and a lot of other changes that have been made, lavatory checks, toilet checks in general, and just to maintain that kind of hygiene in a little space and with that PPE on yourself 24/7 is not easy at all. Not just that, the F1 position, which is the business class crew or the first class crew, they are the ones who've been asked to work in economy, because the F2 position, or in simple terms, the crew that works in economy, are the next target that is being redundant because they are the junior most in the company. So what they do is to cover costs and have their experience with the company, because they are more trained and more experienced as business class crew and more senior. They are the ones who are made to work in economy, and F2 crew is the one who's the next target to, of course, get redundant of the company. Simple reasons: because of the experience and, of course, training costs and salaries, because they want to keep the more trained and experienced crew to work in economy as well. So that's how it's working for F1s these days. The next thing, which is the bigger thing, is the salary. So they have been given contracts to sign. The new contracts, the new COVID salary, which is as less as 30% cut initially, which was made to 40% as well from their basic salaries, and also from their per hour flying allowance. This is common for cabin crew as well as the flight deck crew, that they have also been given contracts to sign officially, wherein they've been asked to give up on 30% of their basic salary and also their per annual increments which they get as captains or first officers. Annually they get paid around 700 to 800 riyals additionally in their salary as a token of experience in their salary, basically. Yes, that has been removed, and also their per hour flying allowance has been reduced by 30 to 40% also, similar to cabin crew. Not just that, the crew that is not required in just sitting idle, what they're doing is, initially they had started putting them in call centers, but still this is an option, that there are crew who've been made to work in call centers within a salary of Qatari riyals 2500 to 3000, which is 5 to 6 days in a week of work, and the duty is also about 6 to 7 hours, which I had talked about in one of my previous videos as well. So now you must be thinking, why are they not leaving Doha? Why do they not take annual leaves, including the captains or cabin crew? Why are they staying in Doha? Why don't they go for their annual leaves or unpaid leaves? Because of a very, very important reason. First of all, the annual leave ranges somewhere around 14 to 15 days, which is not enough. Why? I will tell you. Because there is an exit permit and entry permit that is needed to be applied to exit or enter the country in Doha. Right. This permission is only given to you when you have an additional 14 days with you over and above your annual leave. Why? Because when you come back, you need 7 days of a hotel booking, and then you need to quarantine yourself in that hotel, and 7 additional days for home quarantine. So that makes it 14 days of quarantine. So in total, you need 30 days of leave, 30 days of unpaid leave that needs to be requested by the company and granted by the company, because they are going to apply for your leave and entry and exit permit on all of that. And when you go for unpaid leave, you know what is going to happen. Unpaid leave, once you go and take, you don't know when you're going to come back again, because again, if you're in Doha, the company knows you are there and you're working for them, but once you leave the borders, you're not in the country anymore, you can be the next target to get redundant. So the situation is not really good in terms of unpaid leave, or who's going to stay or who's going to not. So everybody is in a lot of dilemma and a lot of confusion. So even if you go on an unpaid leave, when you come back, you need a permit from the company itself, and you, once you go on unpaid leave, are not sure about if ever they're going to call you back and when they will call you back or not, if ever there is a need, and what all will go wrong or right, so things like that. when they're not sure, and there are people who are not sure and do not want to end up in this situation, they prefer to stay in Doha, and by this way they are forcibly made to use their annual leave, because now this is the only option, because the 15 days that you have as your annual leave, they are not enough for you, because that is the amount of days you need for yourself to get quarantined when you come back. So the only option stays is that you utilize your annual leave in Doha itself. So now what's happening with the flight deck crew, which is the captains and first officers? So the ones who are operating more of freighter flights are okay, but an additional new thing has been introduced, which is the belly cargo, which means simply that you must have heard about empty aircrafts being operated by 1 or 2 crew. Exactly that. Now maximum flight deck crew, which is 4 flight deck crew, takes 1 aircraft with 2 cabin crew, maybe because of safety reasons and the requirements, and then they operate that empty flight with only cargo. So a passenger aircraft, not a cargo aircraft, but also a passenger aircraft, is operated as a cargo aircraft with 2 crew and 4 flight deck, and they've been operating that flight to cover some costs, and so that their fuel costs can be covered and the aircrafts are not just sitting idle. Then they are also helping with essentials and of course COVID medicines and things like that, utilizing their passenger aircrafts as cargo. So now another thing that the flight deck crew is going through is there are also paid according to their controlled rest, their rest which they have in flight. So in case of flight decks, they also get paid for their rest time, like of course we also do get, but that's a part of our flying allowance and we don't have a different separate pay for our rest, but they do have a rest period pay as well, which might be a little lesser. So what they've done is there is a 50% cut in that salary as well. So 25% cut in their basic salary and 50% cut in their rest period in flight salary. And that is being getting affected because now maximum flight deck is being sent for every second flight, which also means that their rest period gets increased and so their salary gets decreased. Apart from this flying part, to also cover their costs, the flight deck is being asked to forcibly move into company accommodations. Apart from this, a very important change has been made in their contracts. Now, loss of license. There is a loss of license insurance, when in simple words means that because of any reasons, if you're not able to provide your pro pilot experience, or if you're not able to work, or because of any disability or injury or loss of life that you have that has occurred on duty and you're just not able to serve anymore, the company covers you for that. They will be either paying you for the rest of the period or for that period that you are incapable to provide your services. This is a kind of insurance that basically all airlines provide to their pilots, but this clause has been cancelled and withdrawn from the contract recently. So coming up to what's happening recently, what about the SDIL crew? So the SDIL crew who were there and stuck in their respective countries because of the restrictions are now being called back. Yes, a few of them have been called back. They're into their trainings and on their way to fly back. They are getting trained for as long as 2 to 3 weeks to refresh their memories and to renew their licenses, and they're back to flying. Also, there have been a few crew who were in their countries stuck and asked because of now 3 reasons, either personal file or either costs or random reasons. They have been asked and told by their managers on calls that they do not need their services anymore. So now for these type of crew who've been stuck with only a few of their stuff in their respective countries, you must be thinking they don't need their services anymore. What about the stuff they have and all the things and the procedures of exiting the company? So yes, this is the most difficult. Now, for example, if you're in India and you've been called and told that they don't need your services anymore, so this crew, their belongings and stuff is being packed on call with the help of a housing department. Of course, some of their friends, all their belongings are being packed by someone else from the company and they've been packed and sent through cargo to their hometown, their home country, their destination, and their resignation, their exit procedures are being completed over call. That's how bad it is getting for some of the crew. Yes, this is true. This is what is happening also in the company, but the procedures are being completed 100%. They are being paid for their gratuity, they are being paid their bond money, the housing bond, whatever they're supposed to get, they are being paid all the money. Nothing is going unfair in this part. Yes, people were given severance pay also, and people are being giving their are given their gratuity and bond amount as well. So that's all the information. That's so much of all the information that I had to provide you with and to update you with what's exactly happening in Qatar Airways at the moment. Some of the information might be 3 to 4 months old, and some of it is happening right now. A mix of things are happening, and this is what exactly is going on in Qatar Airways at the moment. If you found this video helpful and you found the updates helpful for you, then please share this video as much as you can, and do not forget to like this video. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, then go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.